Today, I discuss who's going to get the 12th seed in the playoffs, Diego versus the NCAA, and SNU is first place in the ACC. All this on American Game Day. Welcome to American Game Day! Today's Saturday, November 16th. I'm your host, Braden Slater, and it's time for another great day. It's Saturday. Actually, today's actually kind of a down week. There are actually not very many big news going on this week in college football. Our game of the week is Arizona State versus Kansas State. Yeah, this game will probably impact the playoffs or set both teams up. Whoever wins has a chance. If you're out, well, it's basically an elimination game for the Big 12. Alright, but first, let's do a scoreboard recap. We got some games over the week. UCLA and Washington was probably a good game. Again, I was recording this before these games happened, so there is the final score of that game. And also, Houston versus Arizona. What a game that was as well. Yeah, both teams are at the bottom of the Big 12. There is the final score of that game. All right, let's talk about some headlines real quick before we jump into our teams. Diego has filed a report, a restraining order against the NCAA earlier this week because he says that the 2 years he played in Division II should not count against his year of eligibility as a sophomore. So they did not grant him it. So this is likely will be his last year of eligibility, and so which stinks because he's great, and the first time I've ever heard of him at Vanderbilt as well. And also, Nico, not going to pronounce that last name, not at all. In percussion protocol after getting injured last week, he is questionable versus Georgia today. To me, I think he's likely going to play. I mean, it's a big game versus Georgia, but we shall see. If he plays, Tennessee's got a chance. Doesn't play, Georgia's likely gonna win. So it's gonna be a big one for Tennessee here. And it's gonna be a big miss if he doesn't play. But concussion protocol, to me, I think that he should not play. But that's just my theory. Alright, look at conference realignment. Let's look at the new matchups this year, or for this week. Syracuse and California at the ACC, Boston College and SNU for the ACC as well. From the Big Ten, Nebraska versus USC, and Oregon versus Wisconsin. Gotta be a big one. From the Big 12, Utah versus Colorado. That's a key one there. Utah's all over the place. And our game of the week for the Big 12 is Arizona State versus Kansas State. And then Texas has got Arkansas. That's gotta be a good rivalry game for the future for the SEC. Alright, like I just mentioned, Arizona State versus Kansas State is our game of the week, so let's do a preview of that game. They're both 7-2. It's 6 o'clock on ESPN. K-State is ranked at 16, and I have Arizona State ranked in my rankings. Yeah, I have Arizona State. I don't think I have K-State ranked. I might. If they are, they're like at 25. Arizona State might be at 25 as well. I don't even remember my rankings because I really didn't go that hard on it. But I'll be paying attention to it. Anyway, let's look at the comparisons for both teams. They're both scoring over 30 points. Yeah, putting up a lot of yardage and passing and rushing. Yeah, and Arizona State is completely dominating the turnover chain this year. 7+. Wow, and K-State is kind of, I gotta say, about average right now. Yeah, you win some, you lose some. Anyway, the quarterback for Arizona State, Sam, he's passing 61%, over 1,600 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And I didn't have time to add my fifth graphic for fumble this week. I might get it. I'm still working on it. I might get it ready for next week. We'll see about that. And also, I got to do some Christmas stuff for my personal channels. Anyway, Avery from K-State. He's also passing 61%, over 1,800 yards, almost 1,900 yards. He's got 17 touchdowns and 7 interceptions for the season. And I gotta say, fix those turnovers, fix those interceptions. K-State not having that bad of a year. They'll be in the running for the Big 12, but they got to get this win. But BYU, 9:15 on ESPN, will be hosting Kansas. Yeah, BYU is number 6 right now. They are the highest Big 12 team. Imagine, Oklahoma and Texas lead the Big 12, and suddenly BYU... their second year in the Big 12, they are in the running to win the Big 12 this year. They are first in the Big 12. Like I already mentioned, they have quality wins over K-State. What a comeback from behind. And SMU, they also have a good win over Utah as well. Looking at, I was all about BYU, but this is Kansas segment right here. Let's look at Kansas' upcoming schedule. They're nearly at the bottom of the Big 12. OSU is the only team at the bottom right now. I'll get to them later on. But, yeah, if they can pull off, well, I gotta say, Kansas gotta win out if they want to go to a bowl game. They have BYU today and Colorado next week. Yeah, Kansas is not going to a bowl game. Sorry. At 11 o'clock on ABC, we're looking at Texas is on the road to Arkansas. Yep, Texas is the highest SEC team right now. Yeah, everyone thought that they would struggle in the SEC the first year. That ain't gonna happen. They are a powerhouse this year. Yep, they're in the running, but who do they have to deal with? What is Arkansas's resume this year? Well, they're the 10th in the SEC. Their, only good quality win is over Tennessee. How in the world? I completely forgot they beat Tennessee. How in the world did they beat Tennessee? They're 5-4. They only got 3 games left. They need to win one of them to go to a bowl game. Texas is already bowl eligible as they are 8-1. Obviously, I think they got an easy win against Arkansas this week. They got a trap game against Arkansas. Trap game against Kentucky next week. And then the big one, probably the winner of Texas versus A&M, is go to the SEC championship game. All right, then we had some Tulsa. Let's look at Tulsa. They played Thursday night. Yeah, Tulsa is 3-6 heading into this game. Again, I'm recording this before the game happened. Eastern Carolina is not bad. I hope Tulsa pulls out this big upset. Very possibly they didn't, but there's the final score. Eastern Carolina likely won this game. Tulsa is 11th in the American Conference. They got South Florida next, and then FAU. Yeah, Tulsa's got to win out to go to a bowl game. And likely predicting that they lost their game against Eastern Carolina Thursday. They are not going bowling this year. Alright, let's look at the ACC. Yeah, the big game. The ACC really doesn't have that big of a game. But yeah, their big game. Well, if Pitt can win some games, maybe this would be at the top of the conference game, a big time matchup. But 11 o'clock on ESPN. Let's look at Pitt's upcoming schedule. Yeah, how do they fall apart? Yeah, well, if they somehow beat Clemson, they are going bowling, but they're 5th in the ACC. They got Louisville and Boston College next. I think Louisville's going to be a tough one, but Boston College is going to be winnable for the. So Pitt. If you want a shot at the ACC Championship, which is very unlikely, they would have to win out. But who stands in their way? Yep, not only Clemson and Miami, but also SMU. SMU's at the top of the conference. I'll talk about them in just a second. But Syracuse and California is on the CW, 2 o'clock. And then Boston College, 2:30 on ESPN, will be on the road to number 14 SMU. Can you imagine that you're in the Power 4, you're undefeated this late in the season, and you're not in the top 10. Not in the top 5 even. You're at the top of your conference, number 1 in your conference, and yet if you lose one game, you're not even considered the playoffs. I don't even think they got a playoff spot right now. And they're undefeated. Wow. Just wow. We'll look at SMU's schedule in a second, but look at the rest of the ACC standings. Miami and Louisville falls right behind them. Then Clemson and Pitt. Yeah. I haven't talked about Clemson much, but, yeah. Clemson also has a shot at the ACC. They also have to win out. Yeah. And I hope some magic happens. Again, I don't think Pitt has a shot. I mean, they're 3-2 in conference. I mean, something crazy. But I think Clemson still has a shot. Possibly something crazy happens. But SMU, I know I mentioned that they're undefeated. They're not. They do have one loss. But it feels like they're undefeated. I mean, they're 8-1. They got Boston College today. Easy win. Virginia next week. And then California the week after. Yeah, SMU's gonna finish this season win out. California might be a trap game for them, but I think SMU's got the ACC championship game locked down. But honestly, the Big Ten, Oregon, I think for sure has the Big Ten championship game locked down. I think they'll basically confirm it or clinch it, not really officially clinch it, but yeah. Got what's called tonight, trap game, 6:30 on NBC, but Oregon's got a good game tonight. I think they win tonight. It's really be a true statement win for them. Michigan State and Illinois, 1:30 on FS1. Gonna be pay close to that one because both teams are. Illinois is bowl eligible, and Michigan State trying to fight up there too. Also, Nebraska and USC. It's a bowl eligible elimination game, 3 o'clock on Fox. Yeah, it's going to be a big one. I'm going to be paid well, I won't watch that whole game, but I'll probably be watching the fourth quarter to see who has a chance at bowl eligible. Yeah, the loser probably still has another chance. There's still other weeks, but, I mean, what are the odds that they're going to win out the rest of the season if they lose that game? Anyway, Oregon's at the top of the Big Ten, of course. They're 7-0 in conference. Ohio State's 5-1 in conference, followed by Indiana. How is Indiana not in the playoff race as well? Oregon and Indiana. Well, we have Ohio State and Indiana next week. That is going to be our game of the week. And we also have Army and Navy next week also. Yeah, we got a big game setting up for next week. But Indiana, they're 10-0. They're number 5 in the country. They got a bye week, like I already mentioned. Our game of the week is Indiana and Ohio State next week. Yeah, 11 o'clock. Yeah, Fox, big noon is doing it. Yeah, and then they got Purdue left. So even if they lose that game, lose to Ohio State, they're easily going to beat Purdue, and then Big Ten championship game if they manage to get in there in the playoff race. Yeah, they're in the playoff race right now. But let's look at the Big 12. The Big 12's got some lower quality games this week, but 1 o'clock on Fox. Not really playoff impact games. They are big for the conference, but I mean the Big 12 not come to the playoff. Utah, Colorado, Colorado, they're number 17 in the country. They're looking to bounce up there and gain the Big 12. But look at Utah. Utah, since Cam Rising got injured, Utah's kind of falling apart. They nearly got a big win over BYU last week. Somehow they lost that. But, yeah. If they pull off the upset today against Colorado, they got Iowa State next week and then UCF. But look at that Colorado. What did Colorado have a chance of winning the Big 12? Well, they beat Utah. I think it's a good statement win. Then they have a scrimmage to last their season. Kansas and OSU. OSU will probably likely be a trap game at the Black Friday Night Lights. Yeah. Woo! On the Big 12. 11 o'clock. But, yeah, Colorado's second in the Big 12 right now. They really climbed up. Non-conference didn't do so well, but Colorado's not bad in conference. Looking at the rest, the Big 12, Cincinnati and Iowa State. I'm expecting Iowa State to bounce back after having a 2-game losing streak now. And BYU, like I mentioned earlier in the Kansas segment, they got Kansas today. Iowa State's upcoming schedule, yeah, they got Utah next week. Gonna be a tough one. If they can win that, I think they're really back in the Big 12 race. And then basically an elimination game or a chance to go to the Big 12 championship if something crazy happens. Iowa State versus Kansas State. That one is going to be a big one if both teams win out up to that game. Looking at the Big 12 standing, it is all over the place this season. Who would have thought this late in the season, BYU would be number 1, Colorado would be 2, Arizona State 3, and then the original Big 12 teams start coming up at 4 and 5. K-State and Iowa State. Yeah, the 3 new schools in the past couple of years in conference realignment are at the top of the conference right now. Who would have thought that? And one of them, BYU, is undefeated. Boy, I like to talk about BYU today so much that let's look at their upcoming schedule. Yeah, can we pull it up? Yeah, they got Kansas today. But here's the big one. They have Arizona State next week. The Arizona State can beat K-State today. BYU, Arizona State, gonna be a huge big-time matchup. It's gonna be like a playoff elimination game, an elimination game inside the conference. So BYU, Arizona State on the 23rd, November 23rd. Got some big-time matchups. I am looking forward to that weekend as well. And I got Houston. Easy win for them. On to the SEC. It's hard to tell if this is going to be a good game or not. If Nico is going to play. If Nico's playing, it will be a good game. Tennessee might win this game. But if he doesn't, Georgia is winning this game. 6:30 ABC, number 7 versus 12. Even though Tennessee is the higher seed, Georgia's actually favored in this game. Even with Nico playing, Georgia is favored. How? Well, let's look at Tennessee's upcoming schedule. They're 8-1. They somehow beat Georgia. They got UTEP next. Winnable. I think trap game, but winnable. I think Vanderbilt will be their trap game, really. And if they somehow beat that, they're 5th in the SEC. They're still in the conference race. Georgia as well. They're 1 seed higher in the SEC. And they beat Tennessee. Boy, Utah and UMass, easy W there. And then Georgia Tech will be a trap team for them. They tend to pull off upsets or win games when you least expect them to. Yeah, they ended Florida State. And likely we'll find out how Miami plays. I think Miami has a bye week today. We'll see how they do next week to see if how Miami responded to losing to Georgia Tech. Anyway, Missouri and South Carolina. These two are like I would say bottom feeders of the SEC, but definitely some interesting stories. 23 versus 21. It's going to be a good matchup. I really think that they're both kind of fighting for a good bowl-eligible spot, really. They're both bowl-eligible, of course. But they're not going to the SEC championship game, I'll say this. But or not in the playoffs. Both teams say they're in the playoff race. I don't think they are. But South Carolina, they beat Missouri. I've never even heard of that school before. So, yeah, easy win. And then the big one for South Carolina, they beat Clemson. Not going to help their SEC resume, but definitely can improve their playoff spot if chaos happens. Looking at upcoming SEC games today, other notable games. Louisiana Monroe, they've been pulling off some big upsets this year. Being in some big-time matchups. Can they pull off a big game against Auburn? We shall see. Also, 2:30 on ABC. Somehow that's a game. LSU and Florida. No idea why that gets a national spot, but it does. But let's look at the top of the SEC. Same with the Big 12. It's been kind of chaotic. Each week, there's a new number 1, and it's been flipping around every week. But Texas is 1, A&M 2, Ole Miss 3, Georgia 4, Tennessee 5. Just a couple weeks ago, LSU was number 2. Can you believe that? Yeah, they're in like a 2-game losing streak now. Brian Kelly's got some issues down there. Just like it happened last year. It always seems like LSU's going to dominate the season, and then they just always end their season poorly when November starts. LSU's just not a November team. Or Brian Kelly just, even at Notre Dame, they never had success in November. Yeah, that's a big, bold statement I just said. But looking at A&M, the upcoming schedule, yeah, they have New Mexico State today, 6:45, SEC Network. They're number 15 in the country, 7-2. Likely W. They got Auburn. I would say kind of a trap game, not much. Auburn may compete a little bit. They'll definitely play like it's their championship game. And then the big one, very likely our game of the week, is Texas versus A&M. Yeah, gotta be a good one. On to the Pac-2, Oregon State versus Air Force, 2:30, CBS Sports Network. Yeah, and then Washington State versus New Mexico. The big one here is Washington State is number 18. They're 8-1. Likely easy W here. So do you consider Washington State a playoff team? Okay, here's my big talking point that I'm going to discuss on the Slateport podcast this coming Tuesday. I'm mainly going to be deep diving into, I mean, obviously, I'm expecting to get a good win over New Mexico today. Oregon State, yeah. Pac-2 versus Pac-2, and then, I think it's gonna be easy W. Oregon State's not that good, and then Wyoming, easy W. So, Washington State, likely gonna win out. Yeah, it's gonna be the big discussion if they get a playoff spot or not, because they're not technically Group of 5, even though they've been playing Group of 5 teams all season long. But let's look at Navy real quick, our Service Academy. Yeah, Group of 5, yeah. Navy, got Tulane at home hosting, yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a big game, our big Group of 5 game of the week. Also, another big one from the Group of 5, Boise State versus St. Joe State. It's gonna be a big one, 6 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. And I had to throw in another game. I had to get some UNLV, some talk. Yeah, a quarterback, NIL issues mid-season, earlier in the season. But, in the playoff race a little bit, they have fallen behind. I already talked about Navy earlier. Army's got a bye week. They're 9-0. They're number 24 right now. I was going to make Army and Notre Dame the game of the week, but it's hard to pass up on Indiana right now, playing Ohio State. Yep. And then, if Army can somehow pull off this upset, I don't think they will. They got UTSA last, and then the American Conference Championship game. I think Army is locked for the American Conference. Now, Navy, on the other hand, I think that they can go to the American Conference Championship game if they beat Tulane. East Carolina will be a little of a trap game. I think East Carolina will put up a fight, but I think Navy gets the W. But we'll find out 11 o'clock ESPN2 if Navy can compete in the American Conference and might even go to the playoffs. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Army will beat Navy, but we shall see. But, yeah, let's look at the race to the playoffs out of the Group of 5. Right now, I have Army jumping Boise State right now in my rankings. I got Army at 15, Boise State at 17, Tulane at 25, Louisiana Monroe just out, and Memphis just out. Yeah, keep an eye on Louisville, or Louisiana and Memphis, just in case the other three fall apart. But, yeah, Army and Boise State are the front runners to get the 12th seed in the playoffs. Yep, it is getting a tight race right now. And some of you are wondering, why you put Army ahead of Boise State? Well, Army's undefeated. Boise State didn't play very well last week against a team that really isn't that good. I really haven't seen the spark from Boise State that I've seen Army play. But, yeah, can Boise State get their spark today? They're number 13 in the CFP rankings. They're 8-1. They got St. Joe State, 6 o'clock, CBS Sports Network. They win that game. Likely winning out because they got Wyoming and Oregon State. So, Boise State, you have to completely, blow out every team in Latin schedule if you want a playoff spot. And then, if you really want a playoff spot, you got to win out. I mean, you have no other Army's got good teams on their schedule, so it's really hard to put Boise State ahead of Army at the moment, but the CFP disagrees with me. Boise State gets the 12th spot, but they're in agreement with me with the top 4. Yep, Oregon, Texas, BYU, and Miami as of right now win their conference, with Ohio State at 5. I would love to see a Boise State and Ohio State game, but I want to see Ohio State and Oregon. I mean, Ohio State and Army. I'd rather see that. Yeah, Army in the playoffs. Would love to see Army versus anybody. Notre Dame and Tennessee. Gotta be a big-time matchup. Want to see that one. Ole Miss and Penn State. You put Ole Miss and Penn State against any one of the teams, it's gonna be a big matchup. Putting those two together, W. And then Alabama and Indiana. I love to see. Well, why? Indiana having such a Cinderella story, and then you throw Alabama at them. And then, yeah, Georgia's out of the playoff with their first team out with their loss. But, yeah, how's it possible that the front runner of a Power 4 conference is out of the playoff? Not even a first team out. There's a second team out, SMU. And not even, they're at 14. Actually, Boise State's in between Georgia and SMU. What? Come on, CFP. Put them in the playoffs. I mean, this isn't official rankings. Just to give them sympathy. Come on. Just at least put them at 11. I mean, you can put Ole Miss later on down the road. I'm sure Miami will beat SMU in the ACC championship game, and Miami will get that 4th spot, and SMU could be left out. But, I mean, man, come on. All right, let's look at some NFL headlines. All right, I don't even have much. I don't even know why I still do NFL headlines. I actually cut it out in my Slave Port podcast last week. But, yeah, just one quick thing about the NFL Combine. Yeah, they renewed it for 2 more years for Indiana to host it. That's really it. That's all the news I have. I know, it's sad. Not much has happened in the NFL the last couple of weeks, but that's a Thursday night football. We actually had a good, decent Thursday night football game, before I recorded this episode, that's what I'm assuming it was. It was a great game to watch. Commanders, Eagles, both at the front runner of their conference. There's the final score of that game. And the Chiefs versus the Bills. Yeah, what the Chiefs and their the referees have against the Bills. Well, we'll find out tomorrow, 3:25 on CBS Network. One of the Bills, the opponents, yeah, they're first in the AFC East. They're 8-2. Their only loss is to the Ravens and the Texans. They actually beat the Colts 30-20 last week. Yeah, it's a good win for the Bills. But let's quickly talk about the Cowboys. Yeah, they'll be playing Monday Night Football, 7:15 on ABC, ESPN, all those networks. All right, this one is going to be a big one because Texans, they're 6-4. They're first in the AFC South. Yeah, they're 1-3 in the last 4 games. Yep, and they have a good win over the Bills. Their quality win over the Bills. If Cowboys win this game, I mean, the Dallas is not going to the playoff. But if they win that game, it gives them momentum for the rest of the season, I should say. Yeah. But Ravens, Steelers, going to be a good game, 12 o'clock on CBS. Yep. Falcons and the Broncos. Yeah, kind of a big game, really. Seattle, 49ers. Yeah, I should say not really much of a big game. Yeah. Really, the only big game on this graphic is the Ravens and the Steelers. I should have just done a 2-box game too, instead of a 4-box. What was I thinking? Anyway, let's look at some NFL standings. Look at the American Conference. The Chiefs and the Bills are at the top, followed by the Steelers. They somehow get by the win against the Ravens today. Well, the Ravens are right behind them. That's why I've really featured the Steelers and the Ravens as a big game this week. And the Chargers are somehow in this race. Somehow. We're still midway through I think we're midway through the NFL season now, so there's still a long way to go. But, yeah, during this graphic, you still have a chance to go to the playoffs. If you're not, well, start winning some games. Let's look at the National Conference. I believe the Lions are still up there. Yep, the Lions are still on the wave with number 1, followed by the Eagles. Oh, the Eagles climb back up there. And then the Vikings still, after their loss, are still climbing back up there. Commanders still fighting, and the Packers are new in the graphic now. So the Packers are fighting up there. Maybe actually getting rid of Aaron Rodgers was a good thing for them. As all 5 of these teams are likely, I think we're at the part of the season where we could say they're in the playoffs. I mean, at least wild card at best. Even if they lose out. Yeah, well, if they lose out, I think they're all done. I should say that. But, yeah. We'll talk about them later on next week. But let's look at our underdog game of the week 12. I'm 2-9 now. Can we skip this segment every week now? I'm tired of this loss. No, I can't. Okay. Yeah, I'm going with Colorado again. And once again, they are the super dog. And once again, I'm picking against them. I think the way that Utah probably should have beat BYU last week, they're on like a 4-game losing streak. 11 o'clock on Fox. I think we're finally gonna get a good win from Utah. I think they finally got momentum and into the week. And Colorado, 11.5 point favorite at the time of this recording. They're number 17. I think Utah can pull off this upset. Give me 3-9. There's no way I'm getting 10 losses in this season. All right, it's now time for reaction. 11 o'clock, ESPN, 53 degrees, partly cloudy. Clemson is favored by 10.5 points. They are ranked against Pitt. Yeah, they're on the road. They're feeling good. Yeah, Clemson, I think it's going to be a little trap game. I think Pitt is going to be playing a lot closer. I think Pitt will cover this game. They're at home. But Clemson is going to get this win. A big SEC matchup. Missouri versus South Carolina. Both ranked teams at the moment. Both say they have a playoff shot, but you're in the SEC. EA's got Missouri winning. EA doesn't have a good track record of these wins, so give me South Carolina as they are favored by 12.5 points. Boise State and St. Joe State from the Mountain West. Gonna be a big game for Boise State because I think that this is Boise State's last chance to make a big playoff statement because the rest of their schedule after this is easy W. So if Boise State lose this game, which I think they will win this game, but if they lose it somehow, they're out of the playoff. There's no coming back because the Mountain West is not very good at all. Whoever they're going to play in the Mountain West Championship. But let's look at the NFL. The Ravens will be on the road to the Steelers. Yeah, the battle of the third place in the American Conference. Ravens are favored by 3.5 points. I haven't been following the NFL that much, so I'm going with the team that's favored. And they're on the road, so I'm not that confident about it, but give me the Raiders in this game. Chiefs of the Bills. All right. I'm tired of seeing, I know that the Chiefs are one of the teams that cover, but I am tired of their undefeated season and barely winning these games. The Bills are favored by 2.5 points. It makes me want to pick the Chiefs because of that. But I think the Chiefs are finally going to get a loss here, and the Bills at home are going to get a win. The American Conference got a good one. Tulane versus Navy. Tulane favored by 7.5 points. They're number 25 in the rankings. If somehow Army and Navy, if Army and Boise State fall apart, Tulane's got a playoff spot. If they win this game, not gonna happen. Navy wins this game. They're gonna get a big upset. EA Sports has Tulane winning that game. All right. Also, EA Sports has Tennessee winning this game. If with or without Nico, with the bold statement by them, I think Georgia, they're coming down for embarrassing loss. I think Georgia, they're favored by 10.5 points. I think they're going to win this game. Prime time on ABC. And our game of the week for the Big 12, 6 o'clock on ESPN, the Sun Devils versus the Wildcats of K-State. They're 8-point favorite. They're number 16 in the country in the CFP ranking. Somehow, I feel like Arizona State should be ranked. They're not. I think they get this win. They will be ranked in a big statement for their chance to go to the Big 12 championship game, but it won't be enough. I think K-State will finally get the big quality win we've been looking for. And EA Sports agrees with me. They're 2-7. So that's going to be a big move for me. But that's going to do for this week of American Now. See y'all next time.